The opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Eastlink Community TV, its sponsors, or partners.
Gwe, Jalasi, Deluisi Julie. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Julie Pellissier Lush. I'm the current Poet Laureate of Prince Edward Island, and I'd love to welcome you to Voices of Epekwitk on Eastlink Community TV. Now, Eastlink Community TV is devoted to celebrating the rich history of the First Nations people on Epekwitk. In the coming weeks and months on this program, we will be celebrating our culture and speaking to people making a difference in our communities. Now I will let my co-host introduce himself.
Koady, Jalasi, Deluisi, Richard. Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Richard, and we're very thankful to be here again on Voices of Epekwitk on Eastlink TV. And we have a really great guest today in Koady Sock, who's an artisan, a coach, a drummer, and many different hats. So I'll let Mom introduce him right here.
Thank you so much for being with us here today, Koady. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to have you be one of our guests today.
Thank you so much, Julie, Richard, for such a such a lovely welcoming. My name is Koady, and Deluisi Koady. Hello, my name is Koady Sock, and I am the man of many hats, as Richard or Mr. Lush says. I am one of the crafters at Made on Mi'kma'ki, which is one of the local Indigenous craft and businesses for Epekwitk First Nation. And I am one of the intermittent drum keepers for Lone Cry Singers, which was established about 15 years ago. So these are two titles I carry within my community and live and off reserve. In my profession, I am also currently trying to become a DFO officer. So I make mention of my profession quickly, just to note that in us practicing our culture, whether that's drumming, singing, crafting, dancing, that's never once stopped myself or many others from pursuing their dreams or goals. So I'm very fortunate to be in the situation I am, and I want to, first of all, thank you guys for having me today. So I want to speak a little bit about what I do and elaborate a little more on Made on Mi'kma'ki. So Made on Mi'kma'ki was a craft and business established about 3 years ago by our creator, T-Sock. And T-Sock originally founded this business as Mi'kmaq dream catchers. And her crafting was limited to authentic made dream catchers. However, quickly she realized that there was a huge demand for Indigenous crafts that were authentically made by local community members, in which she began to reach out to local crafters such as myself. So about 6 months into her endeavors of starting the business, she began to reach out to crafters such as myself, my spouse, and a few other members in the community in regards to covering different crafts that we can engage with selling to the community or trade. Some of these items include medallions, or it went from originally just dream catchers to doing medallions, headdresses, tailoring projects such as ribbon skirts or regalias, or most commonly beaded accessories. So a lot of these crafts have helped support our crafters over the last 3 years over the COVID-19 pandemic that's unfortunately still affecting our community today. But it was a way for a lot of our crafters to be able to work from home and be able to support ourselves off of what we do. So Made on Mi'kma'ki, overall, it was a craft and business established simply with the objective of being able to promote Indigenous crafts, primarily Mi'kmaq crafts, and to be able to support our artists in getting their work out there. So over the last 3 years, I'd say we've been pretty successful in doing that, and we're very fortunate to be where we are today.
Thank you for explaining that, Koady. I learned a lot just about the business there. So why is it so important to you to do art, with medallions and beadwork and regalia? Why is that important to you?
So that's a great question. Personally, I've engaged in getting into art, practicing my culture, I'd rather say, than rather than practice and doing crafts, because it's very much a cultural aspect that represent our people. It's something that our ancestors or elders have passed on generation to generation. It's foundational knowledge to be able to um, make craft these projects or bring to life your image and to be able to financially support yourself off that today. Now, back then, in our community, basket weaving was very common, commonly done among our people, and it would be brought into local trading posts and traded for the resources we need. Now, nowadays, we trade what we have for money in some cases, but this is how nowadays we support ourselves. Me personally, as a crafter, our other two crafters would have their own other personal ambitions or reasons on why they craft. Um, for me, it was definitely important to be able to pass on to my kids, but as someone that's been blind, um, I was 100% legally blind for about a year. And during that time, I lost all the color in my eyes. I couldn't see. And upon rigorous treatments, I was able to get my vision back. And upon it returning, color was something that was very much stuck out with me. And whether that was paintings, regalias, crafting, um, art that people were passionate about. And for me personally, that was my driving aspect on why I got into craft, and was more or less the beauty behind it.
I love that. That's beautiful, Koady. Now we are going to take a short break here, but be sure to keep watching Voices of Epekwitk on Eastlink Community TV. Welcome back to Voices of Epekwitk on Eastlink Community TV. I'm Julie Pellissier Lush and my wonderful co-host Richard Lush, and we are here talking with Koady Sock, who is an Epekwitk First Nations community member living off reserve, and an artisan, a drummer, and a youth who is going to be definitely an earth changer here in our community, a role model. So one of the questions I was thinking about when I was hearing you talk about the creator of this artistic trio, I would almost say, that is creating all these beautiful artisan pieces with regalia and drumming and regalia and beadwork. Now, the question I was thinking of asking is, what are the challenges and misconceptions of our Indigenous youth out there today here on PEI, and what can we do to help change some of those misconceptions? Because as a youth, I'm sure you're well aware when, you introduce yourself and you're Indigenous, like there is misconceptions out there in PEI, and this is for the viewers out there who might not have a chance to connect with Indigenous people here in PEI, but it's our opportunity to maybe teach them. And so what would you think would be some of the misconceptions?
Oh, that's a that's a very good question. I'd say the issues that Indigenous youth, as you put it, are facing today aren't so much limited to just youth ourselves. We're very much painted with the same brush or stigma as what any other Indigenous tribe or people may go through of all ages. Mainly, or there is some key points that are affecting our Indigenous youth today. And one being youth in conflict with the law. And very much there's still being a lot of stigma around mental health in our communities. There's a rippling effect of intergenerational trauma from the 60s scoop, very much still going on within my age category or our parents, which would be your 40 to 50-year-olds, and very much our grandparents who are unfortunately passed away, and we're losing a lot of key knowledge. With As I was saying though, with the youth in conflict with the law, I'm a former Mi'kmaq Confederacy justice worker that was in a fortunate position to be able to work with youth in conflict with the law. And in regards to some pretty serious offenses too, I was able to assist with what's called GLADU reports. And in these reports, I got to really engage with a lot of these youth and really get a good insight to what they're going through, in the sense of living a life of truancy or life outside social norms. And and as a youth myself that didn't have so much different upbringing than a lot of these children, I often wonder to myself if crafting or drumming or practicing my culture was something that prevented me from going down the same path. Because at one point I was representing someone that was the very same age as myself. And but nowadays, after that happened about 3 years ago, I'd say that definitely set a precedent to where I wanted to give youth the opportunity to be able to practice their culture, whether that be through craft and drumming or being able to make them a regalia. Um, this is something I've actively tried to dedicate my own personal time towards, and also really, um, what would be the word for it? Trying to foster someone's passion for what they're interested in. Because some people are interested in crafting, some people are interested in drumming, some people are interested in dancing. And we as crafters try not to limit ourselves, or drummers or dancers. And but I'd say very much youth in conflict with the law and not having the means to be able to practice their culture is a very huge issue that's affecting our youth today.
Now they say, like, there's teaching that was taught to me that, with regards to intergenerational trauma, it takes 7 generations to do intergenerational healing. So it's up to a lot of people our age, our generations, to continue to work with the youth and work with ourselves as well along the way, because it's really important on working on yourself and your self-motivation, your self-healing, because if you're not healed inside internally, how are you going to help others? So I appreciate those comments and what you said there. And I think it's really good point here. Like you talked about losing the sight of color, and then how it was so important to you to start creating art because you regained it, and you had such special place in your heart after kind of losing something, but then regaining it, you know. So I think what originally started you to create an art and your artisan? Was it your mom? You know, what originally started you a long time ago, young Koady Sock, to making art?
I'd say as a youth, you involuntarily see how you don't even realize what you're doing on from your day-to-day life is actually attributing to your knowledge or stuff that was passed down to you. When I was 4 years old, I moved to Kentucky, one of the states that don't have any reservations, and their indigenous population, I believe, it falls under 1%. And so it was very uncommon to meet people that practice culture, knew crafts, or weren't very removed like myself from the culture. And so I'd say upon having that accident and becoming blind and being fortunate enough to be able to come through that all, I, re- I returned to Canada after a long journey, and I realized that I actually didn't know the culture as well as I thought. By this point, I was about 12 years old. Um, aside from having a bit of survivalist skills from living in the backwoods of Kentucky, my knowledge was very limited to crafting, cooking, survivalist skills. Very much our culture is and way of life is um, constantly adapting, and we're constantly learning from one another. Even stuff today that's practice is something that we may not have been practicing a week ago. So me personally with the crafts, not to dodge your comment, but where I was going with this is when I came back to Canada and I was exposed back into my own community of Epekwitk First Nation, they were very accepting of me learning my culture through drumming and language learning, primarily through a man named Tim Sock. And one of our drum keepers, Dresben Cudmore. So Tim Sock is slowing down with the drumming a little bit now, and Dresben still does it to this day, 15, 16 years later. And these two men, over traveling with them for about 15, 16 years to different communities, we were able to see how much of a gap there is with crafting. And from dancers or young or grown men not being able to dance because they simply don't know where to purchase a regalia or an outfit to dance in. Um, there is a huge gap with that. There's a huge gap with drummers. I think in the Maritimes, I won't say any particular community. There was 3 communities that had a powwow at once, and unfortunately, one of those communities did not have a drum. They had to play a CD. And this is a whole community of people that are allegedly practicing their culture. So one person practicing their culture and retaining that knowledge, whether it's through drumming, crafting, this and that, um, I wanted to reflect in myself to be able to pass that on to community members. This is why I actively engage in workshops and teaching other crafters and sharing my knowledge to be able to have people out there to carry on this knowledge, to be able to support themselves, but also to be able to fulfill a gap in a market that's very much hurting from years of healing.
That is so true. I can see that in everything that now that we're open again, you can tell the ones who have sort of moved forward and the ones who haven't, and it's sad. But for now, we're going to take another short break, but we will return again very soon with Koady Sock. Be sure to keep watching Epekwitk, Voices of Epekwitk on Eastlink Community TV. Welcome back to Voices of Epekwitk on Eastlink Community TV. I'm Julie Pellissier Lush and my wonderful co-host Richard Lush.
As we progress through this really great conversation of your history, where your culture and where your heart is aligned, and really vital information for our community that's watching to participate in. I want to ask a question on how important is the relationship between our youth and the elders in Indigenous communities? How important is that?
I'd say it's very important, but I'd also like to touch on the fact of it, realizing the importance of it outside our community as well. I think elders or people's parents, grandparents, caregivers, guardians, or however people coin the term, I think is your relationship with these people can be very vital in the sense that their knowledge and experience and years under their belts is something that you cannot gain unless you've lived. And this is something that unfortunately a lot of people in our community had to realize the hard way, um, how quick you can lose this. Um, from people having ill relationships with elders and having them pass on. Um, that elder in our community, when they pass on, they take all that knowledge with them that they didn't share. And for our youth today, keeping those relationships strong is very important because our communities don't have much elders left. Our elders, we don't get an elder because you just hit a certain age. Elders are very much appointed and respected individuals from our community and people of which are knowledge keepers, teachers, and people that very much a lot of people look up to. So I'd say the relationship between the youth and elders is, I'd say, number one right now, because we care. It's our job to take care of our elders, and it's our elders' job to pass on their knowledge to you. So it's a nice little relationship trade-off, I would say, between the two. And did that answer your question?
No, that is amazing. Now, I want to get a little bit more of Koady just to wrap up this amazing interview that we've had together. Now, what are your plans for your future, for your crafting, for your drumming, for your personal goals? What's up next now for Koady?
Oh, yeah. So, my personal goals, aside from continuing our hard work with our other two crafters on Made on Mi'kma'ki and continuing our 16th year of Lone Cry Singers going into next year, I would say for my own personal goals, I brought up my profession because I want to remind people that although I drum, I cry. It's one of my dreams and goals to be able to go into the profession I am and to be fortunate enough to liaison for a cybersecurity company. So right now, my personal goals is to see what good I can do with the cybersecurity company and helping resolve the MMIW crisis that is currently ongoing. And just seeing what good I can do for my community while I'm here. So that's important to me. And that's the example I want to be able to set for the youth.
Oh, this has been an amazing conversation, Koady. I thank you so much for giving of your time and your wisdom and your knowledge. And I guess that means that we are wrapping up. And thank you to everyone for being a part of our amazing show, Voices of Epekwitk with Eastlink Community TV. Be sure to tune in again for the next episode of our Community Change Makers.
I want to thank you, Julie and Richard, for having me, as well as Eastlink for being able to host this amazing talk. So I'm very grateful to be a guest on your guys' program tonight, and I want to thank you guys so much. Bilal.
Now, we do not like to say goodbye. We like to say nimultus, or until we meet again, because goodbye is a little bit too permanent. So, Walalan nimultus. Thank you.
Gojo walking na, 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 gojo